Hello everyone, welcome back. So this video is going to focus on two-point perspective all the way around. So in our last assignment, in session 8 for our Art 101 course, you drew the table in one-point perspective, and then you drew a stack of boxes in a single column in two-point perspective. So in this particular video here, we are going to be drawing the table as well as the boxes all in two-point perspective. So what's going to happen is you need to position yourself in such a way that you're going to face the corner of your table, and then also the corners of the boxes will be coming at you. Some things I wanted to point out is, you notice I'm sitting down. So actually in the textbook and in the handout, it calls for some of the criteria that the top two boxes in your stack should be placed above your eye level. And that's your horizon line that's cast out there at a distance. So make sure that you do that by actually having a pretty well stacked boxes. You may get away with 4. I was able to get away with 4, and my boxes are tipped on end to give me that height. And then by sitting down, it also helps to assure that the horizon line for me, my eye level, is lower. And I'll point out where it is on the boxes when I bring the camera over here. The other thing is, I want you to notice my station point. Because I am sitting, I want to make sure that I'm at arm's length from my drawing surface, okay? So that while I'm measuring angles and while I'm sighting angles, that when I bring them at arm's length here, that angle stays consistent. It doesn't change, because if I sight the angle from there and then do this, you notice the angle had changed in the process of bending my arm. So that consistency gets off. So if you keep doing this, what you'll start to notice is once you're done with the drawing, you walk away and you come back, and your drawing will look really ill. It won't make any sense. So by keeping this consistent, that everything should stay roughly in proportion, as well as angles staying kosher with the other angles. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was this notion of the picture plane. So the picture plane is this imaginary piece of glass that's out in front of you at arm's length. And one of the things I want to impress upon you is this idea that when you're measuring, you want to measure either on the horizontal axis or the vertical axis. Do not measure on any kind of weird angle when you're making your measurements, okay? So make sure you're either measuring on the horizontal or the axis. So by doing that, you'll keep your measurements here also more consistent, along with this idea of that arm's length. Now when you sight your angles of the box, you can do any angle you want, but you don't want to tip your pencil forward, so this glass prevents you from doing it, and you can only make your angles based on like a clock, hands of a clock. So, or like windshield wipers, however you want to, the best way for you to see that or envision it. So only back and forth like this, okay? Nothing like that. All right, so that's your picture plane. So again, your picture plane, your horizon line, and those vanishing points are all imagined, but based on where your eye level is your horizon line, and then all your lines will be coming to that level because of your point of view. Now if I stand up, all my angles change, and the measurements will also be slightly different as well. So I want to ensure or make sure that I'm always planted in the same place. I could tape where my feet are of the chair, so in case that gets moved, I can always bring the chair back to the same position. I could also tape where my picture plane is, so that I make sure that I always have that arm's length. Okay? All right, so I'm going to bring the camera over here, and we'll get started. So we get a little whirlwind tour of the room. Woo, look at all that. Okay. So I'll position the camera here in front of me, and I'm going to try and shoot this video in such a way that you're always kind of behind my pencil, so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, so there is my table. It's a folding table, and then I have 4 stacked boxes. Now when I put my pencil out at arm's length, and this is roughly at my eye's level, is about here on the box, okay? So based on that, because I'm sitting, it works out that my top two boxes are above that eye level. All right? So that's one thing you're going to check when you're looking at this. Is find your eye level and make sure that these two top boxes, whatever you choose to use, are above that level. All right, the other thing you want to make sure is that you have a corner of your table coming right at you, and that all the corners of the boxes are coming at you as well. So that puts it all into two-point perspective. All right, to start this drawing, if we refer to the textbook, let's see if I can get this camera right. Genesis shows that you can put two pencils out there at arm's length on the two angles of the table. We're going to start with the table first. So where the butt of the pencils come together, that's the corner. And you can envision this like a clock, you know, the two hands on an analog clock. And then you could take these angles and apply them to your picture plane on your paper. I normally don't use this approach because obviously I had the camera to work with, so it's just going to be easier to do one angle at a time. And most likely you guys will be approaching it in that same manner. Alright, the other thing I want to check before I sight these angles, I want to make sure, now I know that this is all sitting on a flat surface and I can tell these are flat, so I just want to check my my verticals are all straight up and down. I can check it against the wall, whatever I'm looking at, to make sure that those are all together. Okay, so let's do the first angle. Now on my drawing I've made a point already on my paper, an arbitrary point, and then I will basically make that point will be my corner of the table, and it will reference this corner right here. Okay, so let's find the first angle, which is the one on the right. I tip my pencil to the right and then lay the pencil on that edge of the table to get this angle, and then I bring that at arm's length to my paper. I put the butt of the pencil at the mark on my paper. I dip my pencil forward to make a mark, and then I stroke a line between the 2 points, just using a sketch line. So again, this is an Art 101 course, so we won't be using any straight edges, rulers, templates, or anything to do our line work. We're just using the sketch method. Okay? So let's go back to the still life setting. And I'm going to find the front angle of the table going that direction. So tip my pencil to the left, lay my pencil on the edge of the table, and then keeping arm's length, come back to my picture plane paper, make my mark, and now I just stroke a line through those 2 points. Okay, so this is the corner, the front corner coming at us. So now we need to measure from here to figure out where this corner is, somewhere over here, and we're going to do the same thing wherever the corner is over here. Okay, I might just make this a little bit longer. So I'll show you how to do that. So you remember when I had the picture plane up, and I can do that here. Let's bring the picture plane up. Remember, I don't want to lay the pencil on this angle and then attempt to make the measurements. All right, I don't want to do that. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm making my measurement based on the horizontal axis. Okay, so with that in mind, I put the pencil tip on the corner over here, and then I move my thumb until it reaches this corner, and then so from this distance, arm's length, this edge is that. Okay, we're going to call that 1. Then we're going to take this and compare it to this length. Now I'm going to have to switch hands, so I'm going to get rid of the glass and change hands. Then keeping this on the horizontal axis, I put my thumb at the corner, and I got 1. I got roughly 2, a little bit more than 2 to give me this corner right there. Okay, so I'm going to come to my drawing, and I'm going to size it up just a little bit. So here, it's not quite, this measurement, which is from that, is about, I don't know, maybe a third. So I'm going to use the half of my pencil. I'm going to make half the length of my pencil as my 1. Alright, so I'm scaling up just a little bit. And then I come here, and I place my pencil here at the 1, and I make a mark. So here, there's that edge of the table. Okay, that's the length. Okay. Then I want to get 2 of these to give me the length of the table going back. So here's 1. And I can do another one, 2. So here's the back edge. Here's the length of the table this way. So 1 to 2. Alright? So I've established the 2 angles, and I've established the measurements. So then the next point is, since I have this corner and I have this corner, what I can do next is basically sight this angle and then sight this angle, and when the 2 cross, that'll be this back edge corner. So let's do that. So I return to my still life. I'm going to do this corner back here. So I tip my pencil to the left, lay it on the table's edge in the back, and then sight that, transfer it. So I have a point here. Okay, now I'm going to sight from this corner back. So tip my pencil to the right until it's laying on the edge of the table, keeping arm's length. Alright, and I have a lot of confusing lines here, so let me clean them up. And then by cleaning up your sketch work here, kind of take away the confusion. Okay, so there roughly is my tabletop to my tabletop. Okay, so from this point, I would want to figure out what would be my next step. What would I want to show? I could go to the lengths of finding my legs. I could do the details of my table. I'm not nearly, I'm not really interested in doing that stuff right now, but let's just go ahead and let's do the table legs. So I go back to my original 1, which is that, and then take that, and it's, for my legs, it's 1. So I got 2 of these makes the length of my front legs. So come here to my drawing, and we called, remember our 1 here is the halfway mark on the pencil, so I move that. So make a mark and make a mark. So there's my leg. I'll do the same thing over here. Got that. Then I know my legs in the back will be a little bit shorter. So, but let's go ahead and draw these. I'm going to use visual sighting to draw my legs in. So you notice that the legs aren't right at the corners. They're inset. So I just visually look at that and then approximate them and then draw them in here. So I inset the legs. Inset the legs. And I want to check my vertical. Those are pretty good. And then there's a crossbar here, and I want to check that angle. So I come back here, and we get that angle. So tip the pencil to the left. There's that angle. And there's that crossbar. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to do the back legs. So let me get that measurement again, which is that. And then I go 1, and then 1 3/4, maybe. So over here, find the halfway point of my pencil, and I do 1, and then bring it up so it's 3/4, so maybe about ish. And this isn't coming, let's go back here. Notice that the leg is inset in from the corner. So here's my corner, so I'm going to inset my leg. Check the vertical. Nice. To that length. And then what I can do is just find the crossbar angle. Tip my pencil to the left. There's that angle. And then I know that the leg over here is inset. I could measure it. So let's measure it. Let's go back to our original measurement here. The 1. And then we'll measure that. So it's a little bit longer than the 1. It's like 3/4. So I come here. I'm going to use 3/4. So I come to the halfway point of my pencil. I'm going to say 3/4 is about there. So about here. And I get those legs in. Alright, so there's my table with legs. I can put in the thickness, which I could just eyeball. I can drop my pencil. Everybody can drop their pencil. There we go. That just kind of gives my table a little bit more distinction or character. Alright. So we've established the table. We used measuring. Remember, we measured on the horizontal axis and not at the angle. And then we just used the 1 to 2 to create that. And then we used that 1 to go in and then with visual sighting kind of fudge in the legs. So that's set. So the next thing is to figure out where the heck are these boxes. We need to pinpoint the first box, the one that's on the table itself, the orange one, and where it's at. So what I've done is, physically, I have put this corner here and this corner here. The box is sitting at a diagonal, but these two corners are actually along the center of the table. And I know where the center of this table is because this is a folding table, and at that fold mark is where I've placed these two said corners. Okay, so that helps. So in order to find the center of the table, I need to measure for that. So I come over here and I'm measuring to get my 1 again. And you notice that before I was doing on an angle, I'm now doing it on the horizontal. I want to keep that consistent. So I have that. Okay? And then I can take that and try from the back corner, and it's too long, so let's do it from the front corner of the table, and my pencil tip hits the center of the table. Okay, so we know this is 1, so we come to my drawing, I get my 1, and then I promote my 1 over here and I make a line, and so right there is where the table folds in half. So then the next thing I need to do is lay the pencil in my scene along these two corners, the bottoms of them, to get the angle. So I bring my pencil up, I lay my pencil to the left, on the bottom of those two corners to get that angle, and keeping arm's length. And there is the center of my table, okay? And then from there, I can then put in my box, all right? So in this video, because of the time of it, I'm just going to draw the first box. So I'll show you, I've shown you now how to pinpoint it and then how to draw it. And then it's basically rinse and repeat for the other boxes, okay? All right, so now that I know that at the halfway point is this first corner of this orange box, but it isn't right at the edge of the table, it's slightly inset. So I'll just use visual sighting to figure out, well, what is that measurement. So looking at it, what I want to do is I'll find the vertical of the box, and then just kind of sighting and seeing how much space between it and the edge of the table, and then taking that over here, I'm just going to approximate it. So here's the edge of the table at the halfway point. I'm going to put the box right here, okay? And I want to do my vertical, so just, find my vertical on the edge and then promote that up, okay? So I'm establishing the corner of the box on the right side. Now I want to come over here and find the measurement. So arm's length, I want to find the one over here, the edge of the table, and then I compare that on the vertical, and you can tell that the box is twice that height. So that means halfway through that mark would be the length or the height of the box. Okay? So coming here, and then my one here is actually half the length of my pencil. Okay? So I just want to find the halfway mark, and that would be about there. Get my fingers to position that length, and then I apply that to my box here. And so here's the height of the box from that distance roughly. Okay? So from here, now I've established where the corner is on the table, I've established the height of the box at that corner, and now I have this corner. So then the next step I can do is either from this corner I can find these angles, and I can find these angles. Okay? So let's return to the still life, my little squeakiness, and I'm going to find the bottom angle of the box right here. So at arm's length, I tip the pencil along the bottom edge of the orange box, and then bring it over here. And then strike a line between the 2 points. Just real lightly, okay? Then I can check that, okay? And that's pretty on, okay. All right, then the next thing I want to do is I want to sight this top angle, okay? So there's that. Okay, so I had the corner, and now I have this face of the box. And then all I got to do now is find this length to establish this corner. So let's come back to the still life. So what I can do is, on the horizontal axis, I can measure roughly from corner to corner, and then apply that. Let's go to the 1, and it looks like it is on the halfway mark. No, it's a little bit longer. It's like 3/4 of the way. So with that in mind, let's go to my 1, and I'm going to cut off Probably, to get the 3/4 length, cut off like that much, and then apply that here. Give me that length, up and down that axis. And let me check my vertical. It's nice and vertical. And then the other thing I want to check visually is, here is this corner of the table, and then here is this corner of the box. I just want to make sure that visually there's a version of that here. And sure enough, here's the corner of my table, and then here's the corner of my box, and it is offset to the right. Okay? So I now have this face of the box. Now I need to find this face of the box. So we'll come back to the still life, tip the pencil arm's length on the top angle of the box, and then apply that over here. Do the same thing on the bottom. And something like that. Okay, and then we gotta find this length. All right, so we have the two angles. So let's find that length. So it's a pretty short length because it's going away from us. It's foreshortened, so it's something like that. And we get, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We get 3 of these to this on this length. So that means when I come here, I have 3 of these, so a third. So if I take this length and break it up into thirds, let's see, about there. So there's my third. Come on the horizontal and make my mark. Find my vertical. And then I have that face. So let me erase this mess. I just erased my angle. There we go. And we can't see the center line of the table through the box because the box would be covering it. So let me get rid of that internal information. Then once you guys clean this up like this, things will become a lot more apparent. Okay? Alright, so sorry about the camera work, there's my square pinpointed on top of my table. Now from my vantage point, I just want to point out that the camera is not at my eye level, it's just slightly below that. So I can see a little bit of the top of it, and I think in the camera you can see just a little bit of the top of the box too. So let's deal with that. And what that means is trying to find the back angle of the box and this back angle of the box, and then by putting those in we can then show a little bit of the top of the box. So let me sight those angles. So let me tip my pencil up and apply that. And let me do the other one. So arm's length, tip up. Okay. So there's our box. We've shown the back edges as well. Sorry, it's a mess in here again. Clean this up. And I slightly over erased. Let me put those back in. Okay. So there's the box. And now the next step would be to draw the black shoebox on top. But I hope that you guys see the ending result of measuring on the vertical axis and measuring on the horizontal axis. Try not to fall in the pattern of measuring at an angle. Okay, I know at the beginning of the video I started doing that. For me it's just a habit. But if you measure on this horizontal axis, things will stay more consistent. So that idea of consistency is what you want to stay with, and then it's less frustrating. When you guys set this up, give some thought about actually placing the boxes in such a manner that makes it easier for you to diagnose them. So like I said earlier, I placed this orange box where the two corners were at the halfway point of where this table folds in half. That made it easier, so all I had to do is find the center of the table, and then making that box placement was a lot easier. And then finding heights, lengths, and their angles to slowly puzzle together the box. And then basically I would do the same thing for the next box. So, if you're wondering, you'll notice that the corner for the black box is here, and the corner for the orange box is offset to the left. But you could also measure, say, from the corner of your table to where your black box would be, or whatever your second box is, and then use that measurement somewhere else to compare. So, almost like the height of the orange box is that offset, so, whatever it's going to be. So just always try and troubleshoot things. If it doesn't make sense, you can also always proof. So, as an example, proofing your drawing, I can come to this angle of my box and then bring it out here and proof it. I can do the same thing, with any of the verticals. If a vertical doesn't look right, so what I'm saying is, when you're done with this drawing, or you go to take a break, take a step back. When you take a step back, you'll actually see issues. This leg doesn't quite look straight up and down, and it's not. So, of course, I have a variety of lines describing this back one, but now that already looks better. So this idea of kind of assessing your drawing as you're going and kind of managing small areas that might get ill without you knowing until you don't realize it until later. So just kind of keep tabs on things as you're moving through this process. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that this was insightful. I hope the measuring, or the different ways of measuring, makes a little bit more sense, and then applying it to your picture plan. This idea of keeping things consistent with these tips. All right.